Hello and welcome to Anime Style. I am Garion Reaver. If you're not familiar with MILGRAM, check out my other videos on it, the first of which will be linked in the description. The last couple of MILGRAM videos have been quite heavy. Shall we lift the mood and talk about organ harvesting? A reminder, I've only seen trial 1 of the 2 trials that are out, so no spoilers in the comments. I don't have any training or experience with psychological evaluation, but I do have a degree in creative writing. This means I tend to focus on specific words used, but the English captions and translations may have errors. I also don't have a perfect understanding of Japanese culture, so be kind to me if I misunderstand things. Finally, these are just my theories and opinions. I welcome other takes, but keep it friendly and remember, no Trial 2 spoilers. Today we'll be looking at Prisoner 5, so content warning. Aside from the fact we're talking about a killer, today's episode will be about medical malpractice and a smug git. Prisoner number 5, Shido. I am not a fan of Shido. I would even go so far as to say that Shido is probably my least favourite prisoner. Shido is a doctor. Intelligent, calculating, smug, superior. It's entirely possible he's a sociopath, but I don't think he is. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Likely working as a surgeon in a high-class hospital, Shido would often have to tell families that their loved ones didn't make it, or won't make it. The worst day of their lives. He played the part well, showing concern, consolation, but it was just a part he played. In reality, he didn't much care. Maybe it was just him doing his job, trying to get by. Maybe it was sociopathy, but I think it was calculated. He simply didn't have a reason to feel bad for their misfortune. If it was, indeed, misfortune. Here the path branches. One tells the story of a desperate man, one of a successful tycoon. Both paths start with the same question. How did his patients die? It is entirely possible that they died of natural causes, illness, or accidents. That his conversations with the families were simply informing them of the truth that he could not stop. But that seems unlikely. For one, Shido readily admits in the voice drama that he killed lots of people. Granted, that could have been surgical errors, accidental killings, but he specifically calls himself a murderer. A fine specimen of one. And given the nature of the 2 paths, he had too much to gain from their deaths. As he put it, such a selfish reason. You see, after speaking to the families, his real work would begin. He would enter his greenhouse and begin trimming flowers. Floral displays that he would pick over, searching for the perfect bloom, for exactly what he needed. Floral displays on hospital beds. Once the family was dealt with, Shido would harvest organs from the patients. Now back to those paths. The first path is the desperate man, one who lost his wife. We know it's a woman named Kirisaki, also Shido's name, based on this tag, and wife seems more likely than sister. What he did was for her benefit. She was in dire need of transplants and he was desperately trying to keep her alive. If he had to take that from others to save her, so be it. Ethics is a delusion. He performed countless transplants, harvested who knows how many organs, but it was all for nothing. She died anyway. All that pain and suffering for nothing. Going into a bit of speculation, I reckon his wife was in an accident, one for which he blames himself, or at least his actions led towards. The song refers to the invitation that I can't take back. To be honest, a lot of the lyrics in this are really quite obtuse, at least to me. Even the title, Throwdown, is used in 3 contexts. I'll come back to it in a sec, but the line, the invitation that I can't take back. Without a solid through line on which to base general interpretations, I'm gonna have to take them as they are. Maybe I'm being too literal, but bearing that in mind, I reckon Shido invited his wife to something and she was in an accident on the way there. Really going out on a limb, maybe it was an awards ceremony. The one scene in the song not set in the hospital shows his bedroom. There are broken things at which we don't get a proper look, but this one looks to be made of thick glass, rather like how medical awards look. What if he was receiving that when his wife was in the accident? The second path is the successful tycoon, because there is evidence he was not just harvesting those perfect blooms to give to his wife. Throughout the song, Shido has 2 distinct looks, the doctor and, well, I call it the pimp. Ostentatious clothes, drinking wine, an extravagant, spacious greenhouse or sunroom. We frequently see this table of bell jars for which he's harvesting flowers. In fact, we see it so much, it made me wonder. One person needs only so many organs. Then we get this contrast. Dr. Shido standing in a rain of papers, all the forms he's having to fill in, and Pimp Shido standing in a rain of body tags, and possibly price tags. I've not been able to confirm what toe and body tags look like in Japan, but I'd be surprised if they were black. Surely they're designed to be easily readable, not eye-catching. I could be wrong. If they're price tags, maybe they're for all the expensive things he's buying. Maybe they're for all the spare organs he's selling. And here is where I undermine my own theory. I used to believe that, but now I'm not so sure. Going back to the bell jars, they're never empty. Surely if he's harvesting to sell, he'd be putting the fresh blooms into empty pots, analogous for him packing them for sale and shipping. But he's always harvesting to replace wilting flowers. I sort of think his wife's system is rejecting the organs, or they're subsequently failing, or other ones are failing. What made me reconsider the organ selling theory was noticing the extravagance isn't real. The expansive sunroom is just the hospital. He wouldn't be performing the surgeries in that outfit, so that must be imagined too. Even if he actually owns the clothes, the situation is embellished. What we see of his bedroom is quite, not basic, but unadorned. He doesn't seem to actually live in the luxury he imagines. Maybe he has delusions of grandeur, maybe his wife was the gardener. If she loved working with flowers, that could explain their prominence as he tries to save her. Maybe they used to drink wine together in whatever modest sunroom they had. Maybe that's a stretch. The song has a line, "Someone's value cannot be the same as another," which is a weird line, but whatever. Evidently he valued his wife's life as more important than his patient's, and when she died anyway, that could have informed his mental state. See, he goes through his VD requesting S give him the death penalty. At first I thought it was reverse psychology. He goes out of his way to antagonize S by treating them as a child, talking down to them, patronizing them with compliments, insisting on using their name rather than their title. I thought it was all to annoy S into declaring him innocent to spite him. Never really sat well with me, and now I've changed my mind. I think he does want to die. Not because he regrets what he did, he certainly doesn't, but because he regrets it didn't work. Twice he calls himself a fine specimen of what a murderer ought to be. He says it with such pride. If his wife hadn't died, he would have just kept doing it. Probably would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for that meddling inevitable death. Between his lauded position as a doctor and, I expect, a very careful attitude and execution, I doubt he would have faced justice for his crimes. He admits to S that he murdered these people, but I'm not certain that could actually be proven. Potentially medical malpractice, but if the families signed off? He cultivated the perfect crime, forgoing ethics and duty for the selfish reason of keeping his wife alive. And when that failed, what more did he have to live for? All tragic and stuff, but what is he like as a person? He's smug. He's really smug and arrogant. What I originally took for manipulation, I think he's just being quite honest. And when he's honest, he's smug and arrogant. I don't like him, can you tell? Alright, objective. He goes through the first part of the VD being consistently condescending to S, sort of overly praising. When he states there's been no trouble in MILGRAM, he calls it the fruit of S's governing. Says stuff like, despite being a child, you've done your research. It's almost like he wants S to aspire to impress him. Shido even goes so far as to wish S luck and pat their head. When S understandably does not respond well to this patronization, engaging him in a philosophical discussion about the nature and meaning of pain, Shido changes tack. He drops his softer, polite voice for a firm, knowledgeable one. He bombards S with long words and medical terminology, explaining how S actually doesn't know anything. It all seems tailor-made to aggravate S the most it can, seemingly angling to annoy them into declaring Shido innocent. But I don't think it's manipulation. I think he's just a git. Still being objective, I think he's just a self-superior, highly educated man who can't bring himself to treat a child with the respect he doesn't feel he needs to. I don't think Shido does anything he doesn't need to. There's literally a line, if it's not needed, I'm not interested. He's not trying to annoy S, he's just a git. So if we assume he's being honest, what does that tell us? He wants the death penalty. I don't think he's asking for it because he feels it's a just punishment for his crimes. He does want to die. I said earlier that a lot of the lyrics are obtuse. Unlike Bring It On, After Pain, or even Umbilical, there isn't really a timeline in Throwdown. Lines seem disjointed with confused meanings, and it's even unclear to whom they're directed. I could go through them all, but that'd take a while. Instead, I'll quickly go through some lines and images just because I can't make much cohesive sense of them. And as far as I know, these are all the official translations. Tok Tok tells me the reason it's okay to be here won't disappear even if I stop. Tok Tok is his wife dying. I guess the rest means she'd still be dying if he killed people or not, but I don't see how that makes it okay. Throwdown connecting you with me to keep you alive. Grammatically iffy, I assume this use of the title is in the fight context. Shido's struggle against death. Throwdown the invitation that I can't take back, lying replacing with hope. I've already explained the invitation part, but it's probably a literal throwing an invitation down. What this has to do with lying or hope, I don't know. Throwdown it's okay, that's enough. I can't think of any context where this makes sense, so I assume it's just being used abstractly. 3 uses of the title in a row with very different meanings. Please don't forgive me. This is either directed at his wife, the victims, or S. I don't think he'd care about the victims' forgiveness, and it's still very unclear to me how much the prisoners can affect and direct their songs. Can they directly talk to S through them? My instinct says no, but it's possible. This bit where he reaches a hand down to a victim and then smiles? We know that's a victim and not his wife because she's the only one with a wireframe. That's just a bed of flowers. Hey, you remember what it feels like, the feeling to take away in order to give. Who's he talking to, his wife? Was she also a doctor? Letting some die to save others? Straightforward. It becomes more and more diluted, it doesn't have any flavour even if it's chewed. Aside from muddying the symbolism, this makes sense. What he's doing gets easier over time, diluted, and the facts of the matter won't change regardless of how much he thinks about them. There's no meaning in it, yes and no, it doesn't matter, it's all how you say it. A messy sentence, but I guess it means something can be good or bad depending on how it's described. Was he stealing organs from innocent people, or was he doing everything in his power to save the one he loved? He's eating a pomegranate, a fruit with so much symbolism that it just complicates things. Symbol of the underworld, symbol of fertility, balance of life and death. Virtually all the plants in this song have 100 interpretations. Throwdown, someone's value cannot be the same as another. Throwdown should choose between superiority and inferiority. I put these together because note the difference in punctuation. This song is maddening with its eclectic symbolism and inconsistent punctuation. No clue how the superiority-inferiority stuff comes in. This broken thing. Perspective isn't perfect and there are inconsistencies between shots. To me, it looks like a 5 or 6 foot hollow glass sculpture lying down in front of the windows. We see it with the floorboards and another shot of the boards next to Shido for scale. Makes it look huge. But we also get a close-up of the much smaller broken thing, what I think is a medical award, and the boards are totally different. Maybe this is my PokeSins shining through, but this song is lacking the attention to detail that the others have. Weird close-up shots of the wireframe's foot and wrist. I feel they must have importance, but I just don't know what. And tiny detail, but the wireframe vanishes between shots. It's just a human-shaped load of flowers. I assume that represents her death, meaning he harvested organs from the dead at least. Apologies for breaking down the song so thoroughly. I try to weave these theories into cohesive stories and summaries, but this song felt so clunky. His crimes were relatively plain to work out by the visuals, and the lyrics were so scattered that they just confused things. There are like half a dozen lines that I either can't interpret at all or just make no sense. Final 3 Shido details. In the trailer, his garbled line is cackling, followed by not dead, yeah she's definitely not dead, I finally understand the value of what I've been robbing people of. This sort of flies against his other characterization that he was aware but didn't care. His S-kill is the only one other than maybe Futa's that I consider to be figurative. He's seen stabbing into or pulling out of S's chest. Nothing to say other than I don't think he literally did this. And finally, his interrogation is called Moloch. Moloch was a term or a Canaanite god heavily related to child sacrifice. Although there is no other evidence in the VD or the song that points to this, there is a chance he took organs from children. And I looked it up so you don't have to, such things can be transplanted into adults. I have no S comments today, so let's move to the verdict. The community voted 52% in favour of innocent. There's little doubt that Dr. Shido manipulated or lied to families to secure his organ donors. He did this to save a sinking ship, unwilling to let it go, but willing to sacrifice anyone else in order to keep it afloat. While after her passing he may better understand what he took from others, I feel his only regret was that he failed. If his wife had recovered fully, I don't think he would have thought twice. He took advantage of countless people at their most vulnerable and had virtually no remorse. I think Shido is guilty. For many reasons, I think Shido and Throwdown are the weakest parts of Trial 1. Luckily, next time is the best part. All MILGRAM voice dramas, songs, and interrogation Oh, I didn't even look at the interrogation questions. Sorry, I'm doing this off the cuff because I completely forgot to check his questions. Luckily, there's nothing in there that changes my theory much, but there is something I want to call out. 2 questions point to something I hadn't considered. If you could bring someone back to life, who would you choose? And he said, I can't choose anyone. And is there someone you don't like among the prisoners? And he says, there's none for me, but I think Amane might not like me that much. It saddens me. This feels like a stretch, but that might be indicating that he had children who also died? Because, like, surely if it was just his wife that was dead, that she would be the one person he'd bring back, and Amane not liking him would make him sad about losing his own I don't know, it's a bit of a stretch, but I just wanted to call it out. Where was I in the outro? All those things linked in the description. Make sure you subscribe for my videos on the rest of Trial 1 and 2, and leave your thoughts, opinions, and takes in the comments below. Just remember, be polite and no Trial 2 spoilers. I look forward to hearing what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider pledging to my Patreon linked in the description, and I will catch you later.